board right here is from the 60s, and it's solid plexiglass. It had a light in the tail. When you turned it on, the whole board glowed this orange color. And the wheels say Knight Rider. It's called the Knight Rider. It's one of my favorite boards. This is another Hobie, brand new, in the box. We got the box for it right here. Pretty rare to find them in the box. There's the start right there. Roller skate, made into a scooter, handles. This one actually was used by the clowns in a circus in Texas. I think it's from the early 60s. Steel wheels. Typically these came from roller skates, Union roller skates. This looks like it was the front, and this looks like it was the back. And what they did is a pair of skates was good for 2 scooters or 2 skateboards. One pair of skates could go for you and your buddy. This scooter right here, I don't know if you can see it, but it had a little toolbox built onto the back where you could put your lunch or a soda or something. Thought that was pretty bitchin'. Here's another example where they took the handle off, and it's still a roller skate. You can see the front compared to the back. On this one, this was a strap-on roller skate where they had to take the part that went around your heel and flatten it out so they could get it to nail onto the board. Held together with a couple nails and a couple screws. I'd say this one's from the late 50s. So that was pretty typical. I think that was typical for a while. I think a lot of people actually used a 2x4 instead of just a piece of wood like this. You know, there's a whole bunch. I bet there's 100 different boards that I call the red boards, that are all red boards and are small metal wheel boards. They might say surfer or, you know, sidewalk surfer, but they're all red and they all had metal wheels. So this kind of, I think, started a trend where everybody jumped on the bandwagon after that. It just seems like this is the most popular with the parents now. Like whenever a mom comes in, this is the one they always say they had. And I think part of the reason was they made like 500,000 of them or whatever it was. Probably any collector, skateboard collector's got this board. This is one of the very first production boards where it was actually sold as a skateboard. The Ski Skater. This is from 1962. Bomac, Santa Monica. It's actually a clay wheel or a composite wheel. Not much better than the metal. I mean, maybe a little bit more forgiving, but still not much better. And these are when the trucks became adjustable. Usually with a screw here, you could adjust the tension. This board, they put the grooves in here for traction before grip tape. Kind of cool. Fleetwood, I think it's called. Have a good example here. This is a pretty rare board. It's called the Sidewalk Surfboard. And it's got the clay wheels, which were the composition wheels. They were crummy. A lot of times they would vibrate so much your foot would fall asleep, or they would get so hot, or you'd hit a rock, or they'd get so old that they'd just explode. In our collection, we have many boards that are brand new, that are old like this. And I think it's because somebody got hurt on it, and the mom said, never again are you gonna ride that board, and she shoved it in the basement, and it sat there for 30 years. So I really think there was a lot of broken arms in some of these old boards here in the collection. I owe a lot to these crummy ball bearing wheels because so many times you see a board that's 3 out of the 4 wheels are good, and that's what preserved the board. And what that tells me is the kid used it, the bearings fell out of the wheel, he never used it again. This is a good one. This is a Saturn. This is a garage door company that made these in the Midwest. With the scrap wood, they turn them into skateboards. This was a typical 70s board. I love this board because it's just basic. It's just a solid oak Logan with Bennett trucks, which were big time trucks. I guess there's one guy, Frank Nasworthy, who's credited with inventing the urethane, which was a much more pliable material and could go over rocks, bumps, cracks, which was part of the problem before, which made it unsafe. You hit a rock with a clay wheel or a metal wheel and you're on the ground. And I just thought this was a cool board. It just kind of, to me, said everything about the 70s. Also, the Road Rider 2 is the very first precision bearing wheel. And these are the bearings that are still used today. I mean, basically. This is also mint Quicksilver. This represented the weight. 50 kilograms. If you were 160 pounds, you'd get the 50 kilogram. If you were heavier, you'd get the 90 kilogram. It went on your weight. It had a reverse camber to it, so you could really throw your weight into the turns. After that, the boards started to get good, as I call them. And when I mean good, they got wider and were more stable and easier to ride. They were the first boards that were really rideable and functional. They were nice and wide, had a good kicktail, and they actually, some of them started to get a little concave, like the triplanes and the Shogo Cubas. They had a little concave to them, and even a little nose. I think this was sort of the beginning of the good boards. And as a collector, these are the hardest boards to find because they were good to ride, and they got thrashed, and they got ridden into the ground. Yeah, I love them all. Serious. This This is my whole life, is doing this stuff.